is lifting some of its strictest mandates starting today. Masks will no longer be required at public schools for K through 12 students. Proof of vaccination to dine indoors, enjoy indoor entertainment, or even go to the gym, no longer required. In New Jersey, the school and daycare mask mandate is also lifted today, and the statewide public health emergency is now over. Connecticut's school's mask mandate has already ended. The death toll, though, from COVID-19 eclipsed 6 million people today. The grim milestone is the latest tragic reminder that despite all of the progress we've made, the pandemic is not over, especially globally. The last million deaths were recorded just over the last 4 months. According to the tally compiled by Johns Hopkins University, the United States is nearing 1 million reported deaths on its own, the largest official death toll in the world. I'm Richard Barabbi, in for Elizabeth Hashagen. Welcome to our live special report, The New Normal. Today we're focused on mental health. The World Health Organization just released data showing the COVID-19 pandemic has triggered a 25% increase in the prevalence of anxiety and depression worldwide. Joining us to talk more about that and the impact taking off masks in schools will have on our kids is DrLiz Matheis. DrLiz is a licensed clinical psychologist and certified school psychologist as well. DrLiz, good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Remember, we want to hear from you. So for the next half hour, we'll be answering your questions as well. You can submit them right now on the live stream of this show on our Facebook pages, and we'll get those questions right to DrLiz. Okay, let's begin now with this new number just out, 25% increase in the prevalence of anxiety and depression worldwide. I don't think that's necessarily surprising considering everything that's gone on and is going on right now, but DrLiz, your reaction to that, 1 in 4?
It's a very high number. It's not surprising, you're right, given the shutdown of the world and how our lifestyles changed significantly and how our young children had to adapt very quickly and then slowly kind of adapting to the world opening up. But it's been 2 years. That's a significant amount of time for a lot of our children.
So what do you make of all the changes taking place now as we continue to open up across the tri-state? And these are all very good things. The COVID numbers very, very low. You love to see that. But at the same time, these are big adjustments now for everybody.
I think overall it's a relief that we can take the masks off, but for a lot of our children and adolescents, including my own children, they are hesitant about taking off their masks because it is such a significant change. And I think this is the biggest change as the world is opening back up. And a lot of children are responding in fear because now they have to undo 2 years worth of messages of it's unsafe to have your masks off. So it's going to be a transition and a change. But I think it's going to work out overall to the benefit of our children to be able to take their masks off and see each other's facial expressions.
So how do we work our way through that, and how do we recognize that in our kids? I think many people probably think, oh, they must be thrilled. They finally get to ditch the masks. But you're saying it's not that easy.
No, it's not that easy. And I think it warrants a conversation with each of our children. And I had that conversation with my kids when the message came out. You don't have to wear masks on Monday. And I got very mixed reviews. I had one who was like, whoopee, great. And then the other two were like, I'm not sure I want to take it off. And the thought was, well, you take it off as you feel comfortable, maybe in the classes or during periods of time, and letting that just be a transition for the kids who are not really ready.
And then how do you prepare them for the fact that this can go back and forth? We all hope that the numbers continue to push down and that we have more and more opportunities to open things up. But there is always a possibility that, you know, if you're not wearing a mask today, you may want to wear one tomorrow for one reason or the other.
I think just having the latitude to be able to make that decision in the moment and to have a mask on you and to let children know whatever you decide, it's okay. As long as we're not giving them a strong message one way or another. I think the best thing you can do for a child who is anxious is to give them the perceived control to keep the mask on or take it off, even during different times of the day.
So all these big changes now in New York City with the masks and also with the vaccine requirement to enter so many different locations across the city. The city had some of the most strict mandates across the country. DrLiz, how do you talk to children about that too? Because again, to your point, they have been preconditioned to believe you need the mask to be safe. to that same end, they've been told you need to be vaccinated to go into the restaurant. Now you don't.
I think we just explain the data in a very, depending on the age of the child, and let them know the data is showing that the numbers are coming down and it's safer now. We don't know where this is going to go. However, for the time being, we can take our masks off and it's safe. And I think kids are going to follow in their parents' lead. If the parents are comfortable, they are more likely to be comfortable. Doesn't mean that they're not going to have an opposite reaction one way or another, because the other side to think about is a parent might not be comfortable and the child is. And so we have to, work through that as well.
As the seasons change here, we have a beautiful day today, and it won't last, it doesn't sound like, but eventually we'll get there. Does that play a role here in just kind of the mindset of our kids when you start to move from winter into the spring?
Absolutely. The season has a very big impact on us, especially here in New Jersey, where we have a lot more darkness up until the spring. And just being able to go outside and be active and let out our energy, I think also has a very positive impact on mood. And now being able to gather for extracurricular activities without all the extra precautions, I think it's going to make a very positive impact.
It's interesting, too, in thinking about getting outside and seeing people again and doing different things. Many of our kids haven't had as many opportunities to do that as we had when we were their ages. Do you think there's an adjustment that needs to be made there too, where, again, you want your children now to go out there and socialize with others? What you don't want them to have to do is stay inside, as they have for so long, behind a computer or laptop.
I say shut down the computers and the laptops and tell kids to go outside and find other kids, or just, if you want to connect with them through the laptop or the whatever, make plans and get outside and just do something together as free of electronics as possible. And now is the time to do it.
So much that goes on now is with social media and TikTok and all these different things we never had to deal with as kids, but we know our kids are dealing with these things right now. And there are pluses, but there are also many negatives. How do you help them navigate that now?
I think there's going to likely be a lot of different perspectives that are going to be shared about the masks and so forth. I know in some of our schools, administrators and teachers have emphasized that we're not going to criticize each other, and anyone who does criticize each other, there's going to be a no tolerance policy about it. So I think that's comforting, because I heard my 3 children talk about it this weekend. But to just understand that people are going to have different views, you can have yours, and to respect others' views.
So how do you combat that as a professional in a school setting? Because we know it's going to happen. It shouldn't happen, but it's going to happen. So what can the school administration do to try to nullify it as much as possible?
I think discussing it and having the children ask questions in their classroom to their teachers, and let their teachers give them information about, some people feel like they still need to keep their masks on, some people don't, and that's okay. Everyone has their perspective, and we're going to respect it. I think just talking about it and discussing it helps kids, because it also gives them a line. Like some kids, even in my practice, I've said, so what happens when someone says to me, why aren't you taking off your mask? And I said, well, you can have a line that's ready to pull out and say, well, I'm not ready yet. I'm not comfortable yet. I may be next week. Just so that they know how to respond and express their perspective in a respectful way. I mean, you can't guarantee how the other person is going to respond, but to allow them to be able to speak to their guidance counselor or their teacher and let them know, I'm not comfortable, help me create a line, or this person said this, and to just create the space for it. Really, overall, just create the space for it.
How important is it for a teacher to kind of foster that environment rather than to say, hey, we can ditch the masks, we're back to normal, or vice versa, if maybe that teacher isn't really comfortable with what's happening?
Yeah, a lot of our teachers may be caring for elderly parents, and so they're not comfortable taking it off. But a teacher sharing that perspective gives the child the language and shows them that gray area thinking, that this is not a black and white situation. It's not masks on, masks off. There's going to be gray area, and it's really a teachable moment when you think about it, of respecting that different people are going to feel differently, and it's okay.
What can we do for the child, for the children who have experienced tremendous loss during this pandemic, and now things start to open up? And certainly we want those kids to understand that their loss is still seen and felt and acknowledged, and we're not just moving past what's happened. We won't forget it.
I think it's important to validate that experience and to let the child know, I understand why you're scared. I understand why this is scary. You've lost someone. It's made a very big impact on you. And again, giving it the attention and giving the child the opportunity to have these feelings without judgment can sometimes be very powerful and empowering in and of itself. So if the child knows that their feelings are legitimate, then it allows them to move on and to incorporate the loss into the present moment.
Are you seeing that, children struggling to move on because of the losses they may have suffered?
Yeah, absolutely. They've grandparents or friends, parents, and they're scared. They're very scared for their safety. They're scared for their parents' safety, their siblings' safety. And again, it's the best thing you can do for a child who is experiencing that grief and that loss is to validate that your feelings are legitimate, and take the time to have them. And whenever something comes up, I will be here to listen.
All right, good advice, Dr. Liz. Stay right there. We appreciate it. We want to get you questions from our viewers next. So remember, if you're watching right now, we want to hear from you. Submit your questions on our social media pages. If you're watching on our Facebook live stream, or maybe you're just watching here on News 12, go to the comments section. Let us know what you're thinking. Give us some questions. We'll get some answers for you from Dr. Liz right here on The New Normal. We'll be right back. All right, welcome everybody watching on Facebook. Thanks so much for joining us. Dr. Liz, I think it's very interesting to hear your perspective on children who are excited about the option on the mask, but maybe still nervous. Do you think that's something that maybe has been overlooked by the media and by many folks who are long past the time where they're ready to ditch the mask?
Absolutely, and I think it's very normal for all of us to feel relieved and think everyone around us feels relieved. But again, we had to impress the importance of the masks, and in order to get that compliance for kids in schools and the classrooms and in public situations. And now we have to kind of modify that message and help them make that transition to now it's okay. So it's just going to take time, I think, and a lot of discussion about what are your continued fears. And then how are we, what does the data suggest? And to really back it up but with that information, that solid information, so that children can start to feel safe again.
Dr. Liz, the control room's just asking if you can lift up your seat just a little bit more.
Okay.
That's good, right? Yep. They gave the green light. Thank you so much. Getting outside, we were talking about, it seems like it's, we can take it for granted. But I got to think that plays a big role. I mean, even for me yesterday to be able to get outside with my family and not have the jacket on and everything, it just feels like everything's kind of moving in the right direction, COVID and beyond, here at least, in the tri-state.
Absolutely, and it's such a wonderful time of the year where a lot of people's mood improves just because there's more sunlight and there's longer daylight hours. So I think this is a natural transition in the tri-state area, and it comes at a good time. I think the unmasking, in addition to the season, it just kind of works out well, and hopefully that'll create a positive impact on mood and anxiety and depression, and we can begin to see children transition back into I'm going to say a regular lifestyle that is developmentally appropriate.
March is tricky. You get excited, and then you always get one more snowstorm or one more deep freeze. It's like, oh, when is this winter going to end? But at least for a couple of days, we can enjoy this. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll take it as it comes.
Absolutely. Dr. Liz, thank you so much. We're queuing up some of those questions now. So again, if you're watching on Facebook, submit your questions right there in the comments section, and we will ask Dr. Liz your questions coming up. We are 20 seconds to this start, Dr. Liz, 20 seconds.
All right.
Welcome back to our live special report, The New Normal. We're getting your questions answered now. You can submit them right now on the live stream of this show on our Facebook pages. All right, let's get right to it with Dr. Liz Matheis. The first one comes into us from John, who says, no help out there for immediate assistance, plus ridiculous costs for mental health help. That's a very interesting item there, Dr. Liz. Your response?
My response is, if you have a child who is really struggling, you have resources within your school. You have a guidance counselor, you have school psychologists, licensed clinical social workers in the schools who can assist with that. So if you have a child who's struggling, reach out to your school and ask for that support, because it is available.
That is so important, especially if a parent feels that they don't have a place to turn. Good to know that there should be resources out there. Next one comes to us from Lois. It's more than the pandemic and masks that's the problem. Take a look at what's going on around this country. Dr. Liz, I would double down and say take a look at what's happening across the globe right now. I mean, these are tough times.
These are tough times, and for our children who do have contact with the social media, they're going to get a lot of information, and there's a lot of pictures and videos, and you're right, we do need to have these conversations with our children who are showing interest. If your child is asking questions, answer them and get information that's legitimate for them, because there's a lot of information that's out there. And think about how we can, if it's causing distress, how we can limit that contact, especially when it's not developmentally appropriate for our children. But have open discussions, answer questions, validate their experiences, because you're right, there is a lot going on and there's a lot to process.
Jason writes, fears of parents rub off on their children. How do we get so many adults to stop living in fear? You have to enjoy each day and not take things for granted. Media helps instill this unnecessary fear. Dr. Liz, to Jason's point, many parents may still be fearful. Is there a trickle down?
Absolutely. Our children sense us. They sense our fears and anxieties, even when we don't speak of them. It manifests in our behavior and the energy in the room, the decisions that we make. So just be mindful of how you may be communicating your thoughts, and try to use neutral language. And if you're not sure, really consult with someone and discuss your fears, so that your children don't take them from you and kind of inherit them. And I use that term loosely. But absolutely, our children are listening. And I recognize as a parent, when I have my own worries, my children then repeat them.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go to another one here from Priscilla, who does have her own concerns. If we have no cure, how can we guarantee our kids will not get sick after the mask removal? We still have COVID spreading. Dr. Liz, I'm not going to ask you on the medical front what to do about it, but again, that sounds like someone there who is not ready to get rid of the mask or have her children do so.
And if you're not ready, then don't. But you're right, I can't really speak to the medical piece, but we do have a vaccine. We are seeing a reduction in numbers, and COVID is a flu, and we know about the flu. This is a different kind of flu, but we're learning more and more, and hopefully over time, we'll have the medical assistance to help us work through it. But again, if you're holding on to those fears, your kids are going to hear them. And just be careful what you verbalize within earshot or to them directly, or if you're speaking to someone else and they're overhearing.
Okay, Tony has a really interesting perspective here. He says, we have to relearn how to communicate and interact with each other in a civil manner. There are too many unsettling events around us to continue on the path we have been on. We owe it to us and our children as well. Dr. Liz, it does sometimes feel like there is no escaping this us versus them mentality that we see on social media and we see really in our everyday lives now.
I think it really needs to be a personal choice, and then finding people who either have similar perspectives and comfort levels, but trying to really avoid the us versus them and just being respectful of, you want to keep your mask on during this event, or you want to take your mask off during this event, that's fine. And really not speaking about it and just treating it as if we're wearing a mask or we're not wearing a mask. But there is going to be a divide, and I feel like there's always going to be a difference in perspective and opinion, and it's just a matter of being respectful and teaching that to our children and modeling it for our children.
Dr. Liz, just to follow up, it's well beyond the issue of masks, as you know. It seems whether it's politics, where it's something happening in society, there's just so much back and forth, and it doesn't seem very civil in so many instances. How do we instill that in our children when maybe what they're seeing around them does not match a civil discourse?
I think you pointed out, you have conversation about it, and you comment, this could have been handled differently. We could have said this, or this person could have said that, to be mindful and respectful with as little judgment as possible. I really can't emphasize that enough, because our children will internalize those views and make them their own and then repeat them back.
Okay, let's fit one more in here. How does one discern if a loved one's anxiety, depression is PTSD type from dealing with the whole pandemic syndrome, or if they have neurological side effects on the brain itself from COVID-type protein lesions discovered on the brain tissue? How does treatment for either differ?
There's, I think, a lot we still don't know about that. And if you're unsure if this is a medical, I always start with the medical. If you're not sure if it's medical or not, go and have that ruled out. You know, whether you're consulting with a neurologist or your primary to begin. And then once that's kind of ruled in or out, then what's left is more of the emotional piece that can then be worked on.
All right, great questions on a variety of different topics. Shows you just how much goes into all of this. Keep them coming, because we're not done here on the New Normal. Dr. Liz Matheis back with us right after this. You're watching News 12. Stay with us. All right, we're back live on Facebook. Really great stuff. Thank you all for sending in those questions on so many different topics. Dr. Liz, I keep coming back to the discourse angle because, you know, we see that day in, day out on social media. And I do think it is concerning in terms of how we get our children maybe to not follow the mistakes of the previous generation and what social media, what you see there, and actually interact with people, talk things out, and not just assume because we disagree on that topic or this topic, we're not friends. We don't get along. We don't talk to each other.
This is such a conversation that I have with my kids all the time, that whether it's different political views or different views on masks or whatever it is, it's just the understanding that we're going to have different views because we're different people with different backgrounds and experiences and preferences. So allowing people to have their views, but not basing friendships on that is really important. And if we can help our children to learn that, I think we've really conquered something big that'll have a very positive impact moving forward into the future. It's okay if people have different views. It doesn't mean that one side is 100% right, 100% one side is 100% wrong. It's every side feels their perspective is right. And just being able to tolerate that without the rage or becoming aggressive, I think is a really great thing to teach our kids, and modeling that in the way we express our differences in opinion without the aggression, but saying this is my perspective and this is the way I want to handle it and this is the way I'd like my family to handle it, and then move forward from there.
We have a school superintendent who joins us often on the New Normal who says when parents write into him with an email, it can be filled with vitriol, there can be a whole lot of anger, and what he does is instead of emailing them back, he calls them back, and he says when he speaks with someone one-to-one on the phone or in person, you get a different connection. And I just hope our children now are able to do that again, especially with so many things opening up. There's a renewed ability maybe to have those conversations and interactions.
We're social creatures. We're meant to be face to face and standing next to each other and just appreciating each other's energy. And you're right, it's very different conversations. What people put into an email, it's hard sometimes to
All
interpret
right.
the tone.
Here we go on the other side. Welcome back to our live special report, The New Normal. We were continuing the conversation during the break on our Facebook page. We are here with DrLiz Matheis. And DrLiz, I want to give you one chance here now to give us your final thoughts on how we can help our children through all of these changes taking place in school and in society.
I think it's important as parents that we're patient and that we listen to what our children are expressing to us in terms of their fears and worries. And then to be mindful and to give our children the space to work through that over time without having a black or white way of doing things.
And in terms of the masks on and off, your advice to parents with kids who may be struggling with where they fit in that scenario?
I think you contact the school if they're struggling or if there's any negative feedback, and continue to have conversation and discussion to help them work through whatever their fears are, and doing it in that very respectful and patient way without rushing a child.
And being able to go into some different locations that maybe they couldn't have in New York City just a week earlier. What do you tell them?
Things have changed and now we can go in and it's okay and it's safe, and we as your parents deem it to be safe, because that's important.
All right, DrLiz Matheis, thank you so much for being here on The New Normal. We always appreciate you coming on and sharing your insight with us.
Thank you so much for having me today.
All right, remember, when news breaks, you can count on News 12 to bring it to you on the air, online, and on our mobile app anytime. And as the nation's addiction crisis worsens during the pandemic, that's going to be our topic tomorrow on The New Normal. So important, so many personal stories. We will get into that tomorrow on The New Normal. Thank you for joining us. I'm Rich Barabbi. Have a great rest of your day. All right, DrLiz, thanks so much.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. See ya.